The tiny blue light on Linda Reeves's console blinked 3 times, then stopped. She might have missed it if she hadn't been staring at that exact spot, lost in thought during the quiet night shift at Colonial Outpost Epsilon 9. Linda leaned forward, her brow furrowing as she adjusted her headset. 20 years in the Terran Space Court had taught her to never ignore even the smallest anomalies. "That's strange," she whispered to herself, fingers dancing across the control panel. The signal was barely there, weak and distorted, but definitely artificial. Linda ran it through the standard filters, but nothing matched in the database. This wasn't from any known ship or colony. The outpost was quiet at this hour. Only the soft hum of life support systems and occasional beeps from monitoring equipment broke the silence. Located on the very edge of human-explored space, Epsilon 9 was home to just 12 people, mostly scientists and support staff, maintaining this listening post in the void. Linda enhanced the signal again, increasing gain and reducing background noise. There it was, a pattern. Not random static, but a deliberate sequence repeating every 42 seconds. She checked the origin coordinates and felt a chill. The signal came from uncharted space, beyond the official boundary of explored territory. Commander Martinez needs to see this, she decided, saving the data to her portable tablet. Frank Martinez was still awake in his quarters, reviewing supply manifests when Linda knocked on his door. The commander was a stocky man with perpetually tired eyes and a reputation for caution that had kept this outpost running smoothly for 8 years. A signal from uncharted space. He frowned after Linda explained her discovery. Could be pirates using new encryption, or maybe a glitch in the system. Linda shook her head. I ran 3 diagnostic checks. The equipment is working perfectly, and look at this pattern. It doesn't match any known communication protocol, human or alien. Martinez studied the waveform on her tablet. So what do you think it is? A distress call, Linda said confidently. The repetition and intensity suggest urgency. Someone or something needs help out there. Protocol says we should relay this to Central Command and wait for instructions. Martinez reminded her. They're 12 days away by fastest communication. They might send a proper research vessel. Linda took a deep breath. By then, whoever sent this might be dead. Our scout ship, the Horizon, could reach these coordinates in under 40 hours. That's assuming it's actually a distress call and not a trap, Martinez countered. The galaxy isn't always friendly, Linda. You know that better than most. She did know. Linda had lost her husband when pirates attacked their transport ship 5 years ago. She knew the dangers of space all too well. But something about this signal felt different. There's something else, she added quietly. The signal has elements that suggest advanced technology. If someone with that level of development is in trouble, we might want to make friends. Martinez paced his small quarters, weighing options, regulation versus rescue, caution versus curiosity. After a long moment, he nodded slowly. Assemble a volunteer team. Small group, essential personnel only. The Horizon can carry 5 comfortably. I want hourly reports, and at the first sign of danger, you turn around immediately. Linda smiled. Thank you, sir. I'll start preparations right away. By morning, word had spread throughout the outpost. Everyone wanted to join the expedition to uncharted space, but Martinez selected only 4 to accompany Linda. Captain Alan Powell would pilot the Horizon, with Medical Officer Susan Walsh, Security Chief Gregory Harris, and Engineer Jack Nelson completing the team. As they loaded equipment onto the scout ship, Linda felt both excitement and apprehension. This was why she had joined the Space Corps, to explore, to discover, to help. But as she glanced out the viewport at the endless sea of stars, she couldn't shake the feeling that this mission would change everything. Ready for pre-flight checks, Alan called from the cockpit. Linda took her seat at the communications console. The mysterious signal was still pulsing, still waiting. In just 2 days, they would discover its source. She had no way of knowing that this routine response to a distress call would set in motion events that would ultimately terrify the entire galaxy. The horizon cut through the darkness of space, its engines humming steadily as Captain Alan Powell guided the scout ship toward the source of the mysterious signal. After 36 hours of travel, the crew was tired but too curious to rest. Linda Reeves stayed at her communication station, monitoring the signal that grew stronger with each passing hour. "We're approaching the coordinates," Alan announced, his voice tight with concentration. Dropping out of faster-than-light travel in 3, 2, 1. The stars stopped blurring around them as the ship returned to normal space. Everyone leaned forward, eyes searching the viewports. At first, they saw nothing but empty blackness. There, Jack Nelson pointed to a faint reflection of light against the ship's spotlights. "Something's out there." Ellen carefully maneuvered the horizon closer. Floating silently in the void was a mass of twisted metal and strange, curving structures that didn't look like any ship design they recognized. "Is it a ship?" Susan Walsh asked, squinting at the strange sight. "What's left of one?" Gregory Harris replied, his security training making him instantly alert to details. "Look at those ruptures along the hull. Something tore it apart." Linda's fingers moved across her console. "I'm not detecting any life signs, but there are power fluctuations. Some systems might still be working." Alain positioned their ship nearby and activated the external cameras, displaying close-up images on the main screen. The alien vessel was unlike anything in human records, its design following curves and spirals rather than the straight lines and angles of human engineering. More disturbing were the signs of attack. Massive holes punched through the hull, edges melted as if by extreme heat. "Those aren't weapon signatures I recognize," Gregory said, studying the damage pattern. Whatever did this used technology far beyond anything in the Terran database. Jack was already analyzing the readings. The ship's composed of materials similar to but more advanced than our alloys. "And there's something else. Those aren't just design elements." He pointed to flowing patterns along the hull. "Those appear to be writing or symbols." Linda compared the patterns to the signal they'd received. "There's a match in the mathematical sequence. This is definitely our distress signal source." Alan turned to the crew. "We need to check for survivors. Suit up for EVA. Standard precautions, unknown environment protocols." 20 minutes later, they floated across the short distance between ships, tethered to the horizon by safety lines. The silent wreckage loomed larger as they approached, dwarfing their small scout vessel. A jagged opening in the hull provided a way inside. Inside, their helmet lights revealed corridors with high arched ceilings and walls covered in the same flowing symbols they'd seen outside. The artificial gravity was offline, forcing them to use magnetic boots to walk along the surfaces. Air composition is similar to Earth standard, but with higher nitrogen content, Susan reported, reading from her scanner. Temperature is near freezing. They moved deeper into the ship, passing rooms with furniture designed for bodies different from human, taller, with different proportions. In what appeared to be the ship's control center, Jack found still-functioning computer terminals. "The emergency systems are still online," he said, examining the alien technology. "And look there, escape pod launch records." The crew evacuated before whatever attacked them finished the job. Linda discovered a data storage device that their equipment could interface with. "We might be able to access their logs, find out what happened." Gregory suddenly raised his hand for silence. "Did you hear that?" The team froze, listening. A distant sound echoed through the ship, a metallic groan, followed by a series of clicks. "This ship isn't as dead as it looks," he warned. "We've got what we came for. Let's get back to the horizon." As they retreated toward their entry point, Susan paused by a wall panel covered in biological samples in transparent containers. "This looks like a research vessel. These are specimen containers, plants, minerals, microorganisms. Peaceful explorers," Linda said softly. "Like us." They returned to the horizon with Jack carrying the alien data device. As Alan prepared for the journey back to Epsilon 9, Linda looked once more at the ruined ship. "What happened to you?" she whispered. "What did you find out here that got you killed?" She didn't know it yet, but the answer to her question was stored in the data they were bringing back. An answer that would soon make humanity's worst nightmares seem insignificant by comparison. The return journey to Epsilon 9 seemed to take forever. Inside the horizon, Jack Nelson worked nonstop trying to access the alien data device they had recovered. Linda Reeves watched him with growing impatience as his tools connected to the strange technology. "Anything?" she asked for the third time in an hour. Jack shook his head. Their computer systems use principles similar to ours, but with completely different coding structures. "I can access some basic information, but we need a xenolinguist to make sense of their language." When they finally docked at Epsilon 9, Commander Frank Martinez and the rest of the outpost staff were waiting. Their faces showed a mix of excitement and worry. "We watched your approach on long-range sensors," Martinez said as they exited the horizon. "What did you find?" Gregory Harris handed over his security recording. "A ship unlike any we've seen before, torn apart by weapons beyond our understanding. No survivors on board, but evidence the crew escaped." Martinez frowned. "Bring everything to the conference room and quarantine all materials from the alien vessel until we know they're safe." An hour later, they gathered around the large table. Olivia Clark, the outpost's xenolinguist, examined the symbols Jack had photographed from the alien ship. "These share structural elements with the Xilari writing system," she said, pointing to certain patterns. "The Xilari are a peaceful species from the Andromeda sector. They're known for their scientific advancements and exploration missions." Jack connected the alien data device to the outpost's more powerful computers. "With Olivia's help, we might be able to decode their logs now." It took 6 hours of continuous work. The team took turns resting while Olivia and Jack pieced together the alien language algorithms. Finally, a jerky, distorted video appeared on the main screen. The alien had a tall, slender body with 4 arms and smooth, blue-tinted skin. It spoke in a musical language that the computer translated into text across the bottom of the screen. "Science vessel harmony. Final log entry," Olivia read aloud. "We have discovered an ancient derelict ship, estimated to be millions of years old, drifting in the void between star systems. Initial scans show no life forms aboard, but primitive energy signatures remain active." The video jumped forward. The blue alien appeared again, now visibly distressed. "Critical error in judgment," Olivia continued reading. "Upon accessing the derelict systems, we activated a dormant beacon. The beacon sent a signal into deep, uncharted space. We attempted to disable it, but the damage was done. The signal continued for 17 minutes before we could stop it." Another jump in the recording. 3 days since the beacon activated. Long-range sensors detect multiple objects moving toward our position at speeds that defy our understanding of physics. We are abandoning our research and returning to Xilari space to warn." The recording cut off abruptly. Silence filled the conference room. Linda was the first to speak. "They found something ancient. They accidentally turned on a beacon that called something terrible. And then they were attacked. And before they were destroyed," Martine said slowly, "they sent a distress signal, the one we picked up." Gregory looked grim. "Which means whatever attacked them might track that signal to us." Martinez turned to the science officer monitoring the outpost's long-range sensors. "Any unusual readings?" The young officer checked his screens, then froze. "Sir, there's something you should see." They crowded around his console. The display showed multiple objects moving through space at incredible speed, heading directly toward Epsilon 9. "Time to arrival?" Martinez asked, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. "At current velocity, less than 14 hours. Martinez straightened his shoulders. "Send an emergency transmission to Earth. Priority 1. Include all data from the alien vessel. Then prepare evacuation protocols." Linda stared at the approaching dots on the screen. What if the Xilari weren't running from the attackers, What if they were trying to warn everyone about something worse? Outside the station, the endless darkness of space seemed suddenly menacing. Whatever was coming had destroyed a ship with technology more advanced than humanity's best efforts. And now it was heading straight for them, crossing vast distances in ways that should be impossible. Epsilon 9 had less than a day to prepare for first contact with something that had remained hidden in the depths of space for millions of years, something that had been awakened, something that was hungry. Alarms blared throughout Epsilon 9 as the countdown clock showed just 30 minutes until the unknown vessels arrived. Commander Frank Martinez had ordered all non-essential systems shut down to minimize their energy signature, hoping to avoid detection. It hadn't worked. "They've adjusted course," Linda Reeves reported from her console. "They're heading directly for us. They know we're here." The 12 crew members of the outpost gathered in the command center. Some had wanted to flee in the horizon, but Martinez had convinced them to stay together. "Epsilon 9 has better defenses than our scout ship," he reminded them. "And Earth received our warning transmission. Help will come. In 3 weeks at best," Gregory Harris said quietly. "We need to survive until then." The main screen showed the approaching vessels clearly now. There were 7 of them, each massive in size, at least 20 times larger than the biggest Earth battleship. Their design defied conventional engineering. They looked almost organic, with flowing lines and surfaces that seemed to pulse with internal energy. "Fascinating," Jack Nelson whispered, his scientific curiosity temporarily overriding his fear. "They appear to be partly biological, living ships." "Try opening communications again," Martinez ordered. Linda activated all frequencies. "Unknown vessels, this is Colonial Outpost Epsilon 9. We are a peaceful research station. We mean no harm. Please respond." For the first time, they got an answer. The screen flickered and showed a being unlike anything they had seen before. It had no clear body shape, just a shifting mass of what looked like liquid metal and pulsing light. When it spoke, the voice sounded like multiple voices layered together, speaking in perfect English. "We are the Harvesters. You possess biological data of value. Surrender all information immediately." Martinez stepped forward. "We are a small research outpost. We have limited data. May I ask why you need this information?" The being seemed to ripple with impatience. "All biological entities are to be cataloged and processed. Resistance is inefficient." "Processed?" Susan Walsh asked. "What does that mean?" "Consumption, absorption, integration. Your biological and technological distinctiveness will be added to our collection." The crew exchanged horrified glances. Martinez tried again. "We wish to establish peaceful relations. Perhaps we can share knowledge without the need for processing." "Irrelevant. Prepare for boarding. Resistance will result in complete dissolution rather than partial preservation of consciousness." The screen went dark. Martinez looked at his crew, his face grim but determined. "Activate all defensive systems. Arm yourselves. If they want our data, they'll have to fight for it." The outpost's modest defense grid powered up, targeting the approaching vessels. But before they could fire, a wave of energy washed over the station. Every electronic system flickered and died. "They disabled our defenses," Jack shouted, frantically trying to restart his console. "Some kind of electromagnetic pulse, but far more sophisticated." Linda looked up from her dead communications array. "Commander, I have an idea. The horizon is shielded against EMP, standard protection for scout ships. Its systems might still work." Martinez nodded. "Good thinking. Gregory, take Linda and Jack to the horizon. Try to send another message to Earth with everything we've learned. The rest of us will hold them off as long as we can." "Sir, you should come with us," Linda protested. Martinez shook his head. "They'll detect a launch. Someone needs to stay behind and create a distraction." He looked around at the remaining crew. "Anyone who wants to go, now's your chance." No one moved. They all stood by their commander, even though fear showed clearly on their faces. The first sounds of the aliens boarding came 10 minutes later, strange metallic scraping against the outpost's hull. Gregory, Linda, and Jack raced toward the docking bay where the Horizon waited. Behind them, they heard weapons fire and shouting. As they reached the ship, an explosion rocked the station. Emergency bulkheads slammed down, sealing off sections. "They're inside," Gregory said, checking the station's security feed on his portable device. "And they're changing, adapting to our weapons." Linda started the Horizon's engines while Jack prepared for emergency departure. "What about the others?" Jack asked. Gregory's face was grim as he watched the security feed. The alien boarders were like the one they'd seen on screen, flowing masses of metallic substance that could reshape themselves at will. The outpost's weapons slowed them, but couldn't stop them. "They're buying us time," he said. "Don't waste it." The last thing they saw as the Horizon broke away from the doomed outpost was Commander Martinez and his crew making their final stand, ensuring that someone would live to warn Earth about the nightmare that had just entered human space. The Horizon shot through space, its engines pushed beyond safety limits. Behind them, one of the massive alien vessels had broken away from the attack on Epsilon 9 to pursue them. Linda Reeves struggled to maintain their course while evading the hunter at their backs. "Can we outrun it?" Gregory Harris asked, gripping his seat as the ship lurched sideways to avoid an energy blast from their pursuer. Linda shook her head. "Not for long. They're faster, but we have a head start, and we're smaller and more maneuverable." In the ship's tiny engine room, Jack Nelson worked frantically with tools and wiring. The data they had recovered from the auxiliary vessel was spread across his workstation, along with scans of the harvester ships. "I think I understand some of their technology now," he called over the ship's intercom. "Their vessels are biomechanical, part machine, part living organism. They adapt to attacks by evolving their defenses in real time." Another blast rocked the ship. A warning light flashed on Linda's console. "Shield integrity at 60%, she reported. "We need to contact Earth now, while we still can." Linda activated the long-range communication system. "This is Scout Ship Horizon from Epsilon 9, broadcasting an emergency message to all Earth Defense Forces. We are being pursued by hostile alien entities. Epsilon 9 has fallen. Sending all data now." She transmitted everything they had learned about the harvesters, the auxiliary logs, scans of the alien ships, recordings of the brief communication. As the data stringed out, the alien vessel fired again. This time, the blast hit them directly. "Shield integrity at 30%, Linda announced, her hand steady despite her fear. "One more hit like that, and we're done." "Something's happening," Gregory said, pointing to the sensor display. "The alien ship is changing course." Jack joined them in the cockpit, his face smeared with engine grease. "There's a debris field ahead, a commercial shipping lane. They might be going after bigger prey." Linda adjusted their course to keep the shipping lane between them and the hunter. Soon, they detected a distress call from a cargo freighter under attack. The alien vessel had abandoned the chase to capture the larger ship. "We can't help them," Gregory said grimly. "We'd only die too." Linda set course for Earth, guilt weighing heavily on her. The Horizon limped toward the inner solar system, its engines damaged and its fuel reserves nearly depleted. It took 11 days to reach Earth's defense perimeter. By then, news of the alien threat had spread throughout human space. Their transmission had been received. Admiral Diane Foster, head of Earth's Space Defense Command, met them personally when they docked at the orbital station New Horizon. She was a tall woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen many battles. "You've done humanity a great service," she told the exhausted trio. "Without your warning, we might have faced these harvesters completely unprepared." "Are we prepared now?" Jack asked. Admiral Foster's expression tightened. "We've mobilized every ship in the fleet. Colonies are evacuating. But from what you've sent us..." She didn't finish the sentence. Linda understood. The technological gap was too large. Humanity's weapons would be like spears against tanks. We need to study their weaknesses, Linda said. The auxiliary ship had biological samples. The harvesters talked about processing biological data. There must be a connection. We've assigned our best scientists to analyze your findings, Foster assured them. For now, you three need medical attention and rest. As they were led toward the medical bay, alarms blared throughout the station. A voice came over the intercom. Multiple unknown vessels detected at the edge of the solar system. All personnel to battle stations. Admiral Foster received a message on her portable device. Her face paled. 7 ships. Linda guessed. 70, Foster replied. Earth is implementing Emergency Protocol Omega. All civilian ships are being mobilized for evacuation. Gregory looked out the viewport at the blue-green planet below. Evacuate to where? If these things can cross interstellar space in days, nowhere in human territory is safe. Jack had been quiet, lost in thought. Now he spoke up. Admiral, during our escape, I noticed something. When the harvester ships communicate with each other, they use a frequency that interferes with their own shielding. It's a small vulnerability, but it might be something we can exploit. Foster's eyes narrowed with interest. Come with me. Our scientists need to hear this directly. As they followed the Admiral, Linda looked back at Earth one more time. Soon, the harvesters would arrive, expecting an easy conquest. They would find instead a species that refused to be just another biological sample in their collection, a species that, when cornered, could become more dangerous than anything the ancient predators had ever encountered. Earth's response to the harvester threat happened with stunning speed. Within hours of Linda, Gregory, and Jack's arrival, the planet transformed from peaceful to war-ready. Every major city buzzed with activity as civilians prepared for possible evacuation, while military forces mobilized worldwide. Admiral Foster led the 3 survivors to a secure facility beneath the North American Defense Headquarters. Inside, they found dozens of the brightest scientific minds on Earth already at work. Your discovery may be our only advantage, Foster told Jack as they entered a vast laboratory. We've assembled our best people to develop it into a weapon. Among the scientists was Dr. William Carter, a quantum physicist whose theories on energy manipulation had revolutionized power generation. He rushed over when they entered, his eyes bright with excitement despite the grim situation. The communication frequency you identified, he said, shaking Jack's hand enthusiastically. It's more than just a weakness. It's a doorway into their systems. We've been analyzing it since your transmission arrived. Jack looked surprised. A doorway? How? Dr. Carter guided them to a workstation where a 3D model of a harvester ship rotated on the screen. Their ships aren't just biomechanical. They're one single organism with millions of smaller parts working together. Like cells in a body. And like biological cells, they're vulnerable to infections. Linda leaned forward. You're suggesting we create a virus. Not just any virus, Dr. Carter explained. A biodigital hybrid that can infiltrate their systems through that communication frequency and spread throughout their network. Gregory frowned. How can we create something like that? Their technology is millions of years beyond ours. Because we have this. Admiral Foster pressed a button, and a section of the floor slid open. Rising from below was a sealed container holding a small piece of metallic material that seemed to shift and pulse with inner light. A fragment of a harvester. Recovered from a destroyed scout ship near Jupiter, Foster explained. They sent advance units ahead of their main fleet. Our outer defenses managed to destroy one, though we lost 3 battleships doing it. Scientists in protective gear extracted samples from the alien material. Under microscopes, they could see it was composed of billions of nanomachines intertwined with organic compounds. It's constantly trying to rebuild itself, Dr. Carter said. But more importantly, it's trying to communicate with the main fleet. That's our way in. While Earth scientists worked to develop the virus, other aspects of the resistance plan took shape. Military leaders argued for conventional defense, while politicians pushed for attempted negotiation. Some religious leaders claimed the harvesters were divine punishment, while others organized prayers for salvation. Jack worked alongside Dr. Carter, applying his practical engineering knowledge to the theoretical physicist's ideas. Linda joined Earth's communication teams, using her experience with the alien signals to help develop early warning systems. Gregory helped train Special Forces units in what little they knew of harvester boarding tactics. 5 days after their arrival, Earth received messages from colonies throughout the solar system. The harvesters had reached Saturn's moons. The outposts there had fallen quickly. Mars would be next. Earth's diplomatic corps attempted communication with the harvesters, offering peaceful coexistence and knowledge exchange. The aliens responded with a single message: prepare for processing. In orbit around Earth, the largest military fleet in human history assembled. Every nation had contributed ships, setting aside old rivalries in the face of extinction. But even with over 500 vessels, they knew they couldn't stop 70 harvester ships. The virus is our only hope, Admiral Foster told the Emergency Council of World Leaders. And it's not ready. Dr. Carter worked without sleep, fueled by stimulants and determination. When he finally collapsed from exhaustion, Jack continued his work, following the notes the physicist had made. On the 7th day, the screens in the command center showed the harvester fleet passing Mars. The red planet's colonies had fallen silent. Earth had hours, perhaps a day at most. Linda found Jack slumped over his workstation, eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. "Any progress?" she asked quietly. He looked up, a strange light in his exhausted eyes. "I think we've got it. Not a perfect solution, but something that might work." He held up a small data crystal glowing with pulsing blue light. "The delivery system is the problem. Someone would need to get this onto their command ship and connect it directly to their systems." Gregory joined them, his expression grim. "That sounds like a suicide mission." "It is," Jack confirmed. "But it's also our only chance." Outside, sirens began to wail across the city. On every screen, the same message flashed. The harvesters had entered Earth orbit. The final battle for humanity's survival was about to begin. The sky above Earth burned. 70 massive harvester vessels hung in orbit like giant predators, their hulls shifting and pulsing with inner light. Earth's combined fleet engaged them in desperate battle, ships exploding in silent bursts of light as the harvesters' weapons tore through the best human defenses. In the command center beneath North America, Admiral Diane Foster watched with a grim expression as humanity's greatest armada was reduced to floating debris. "We're losing ships too quickly," she said. "At this rate, our fleet will be gone in less than 2 hours." Linda Reeves studied the tactical display, noting how the harvester vessels moved in perfect coordination. There, she pointed to the largest ship at the center of the alien formation. "That must be their command vessel. All the others respond to its movements." Gregory Harris nodded in agreement. "That's our target. We need to get the virus onto that ship." Jack Nelson arrived with Dr. Carter, who had recovered enough to continue working. The physicist held a small metallic case containing their weapon. "The biodigital virus is ready," Dr. Carter announced. "It's designed to infiltrate their systems and disrupt the neural network that connects all their ships." "How do we deliver it?" Foster asked. Jack stepped forward. "We've modified a stealth shuttle with harvester technology salvaged from the scout ship. It won't fool them for long, but it might get close enough to dock with their command vessel. And then," Foster pressed, "someone needs to board the harvester ship, find their central processing node, and manually connect the virus," Jack explained. "Once activated, it will spread through their entire network." Linda looked at the images of Earth's dying fleet on the screens. "I'll go," she said quietly. Gregory immediately shook his head. "Not alone. I'm going too." Jack completed the trio. "We started this when we found that distress signal. We should finish it." Admiral Foster knew there was no time to argue. "How soon can you leave?" "The shuttle is ready now," Jack replied. Within 30 minutes, they were aboard the modified stealth shuttle, launching from an underground facility. The small vessel was barely recognizable, its hull partially covered with the living metal salvaged from the destroyed Harvester Scout. It pulsed with an eerie glow as it slipped past Earth's defenses toward the raging battle in orbit. Linda piloted the shuttle, using the Harvester signatures to mask their approach. On screens around them, they watched Earth's fleet fighting with desperate courage. For every alien ship damaged, 5 human vessels were destroyed. "Our weapons barely affect them," Gregory observed, "but they're not completely invulnerable." Jack studied the sensor readings. They adapt quickly to whatever we throw at them. No weapon works twice. As they approached the massive command ship, they saw it was nearly 2 miles long, with a complex structure that seemed to be constantly changing. Linda guided their shuttle toward what appeared to be a docking area, where smaller vessels were entering and exiting. "Their scanners have detected us," Jack warned as alarms blinked on his console. "We have minutes at most." The shuttle slipped inside the Harvester vessel just as energy weapons began targeting them. They landed roughly in a vast chamber filled with smaller ships. Immediately, they donned the specialized suits designed to protect them from the environment inside the alien vessel. "The processing node should be at the center," Jack said, checking the scanner he had calibrated to detect the strongest energy signatures. They moved through corridors that seemed alive, pulsing with energy and shifting around them. Twice they had to hide as Harvester drones, smaller versions of the liquid metal beings they had seen before, passed by. The central chamber was a cathedral-like space, filled with swirling patterns of energy and light. At its center floated a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with blinding intensity. "That's it," Jack whispered. "The central node." As they approached, the energy patterns around them shifted. Linda felt a presence in her mind, ancient, cold, and vastly intelligent. "We are detected," she warned. A voice spoke directly into their minds. "Humans, you are persistent. Interesting. Most species surrender when they recognize the futility of resistance." Around them, the liquid metal walls formed into multiple figures, identical to the being they had seen on the communication screen at Epsilon 9. "Your primitive virus cannot harm us," the voice continued. "We have existed for billions of years, consuming countless civilizations. Your species is nothing special." Jack stepped forward with the device containing the virus. "Then you won't mind if I connect this, just to prove it won't work." "Your deception is transparent," the voice replied. "But your courage is noted. It will be preserved when we process your world." The figures moved toward them. Gregory raised his weapon and fired, creating a path to the central node. "Jack, now." Jack sprinted forward while Linda and Gregory provided covering fire. The alien figures were slowed but not stopped by their weapons. Jack reached the crystalline structure and attached the device to its surface. "It's done," he shouted. "The virus is uploading." The chamber shuddered around them. The voice in their minds became fragmented, confused. "What is this? This is not primitive technology. This is something new. We adapted your own technology against you," Linda explained as the crystal began to pulse with red instead of blue light. "You're not the only ones who can evolve." The alien figures began to lose cohesion. The voice screamed in their minds. "You cannot. We are eternal. We are." The entire ship shuddered violently. Gregory grabbed Linda's arm. "We need to go. Now." But as they turned to leave, they saw the exit was blocked by more Harvester drones. They were trapped. The Harvester drones closed in around Linda, Gregory, and Jack. Death seemed certain as the ship continued to shudder violently around them. Suddenly, the central crystal exploded with blinding light, and the drones froze in place. "The virus is spreading faster than expected," Jack said, checking his handheld scanner. "It's disrupting their entire network." A new tremor, stronger than before, shook the chamber. Parts of the ceiling began to collapse. The ship is tearing itself apart, Linda realized. We need to find another way out. Gregory pointed to a corridor that had appeared where none existed before. The ship's structure is becoming unstable. New pathways are opening. They ran through the shifting maze of the dying harvester vessel, the walls around them rippling like water. Throughout the ship, they glimpsed scenes of chaos. Drones collapsing into puddles of liquid metal, energy systems flaring and dying. Look, Jack pointed to a view screen they passed. Outside, the other harvester ships were also affected, their perfect formation broken as they drifted aimlessly. Some had begun to break apart. They found a small hangar with escape pods, spherical vessels designed for harvester drones. Jack quickly examined the nearest one. I think I can pilot this, he said, working to understand the alien controls. The interface is similar to the systems we studied. As they prepared to board, Gregory stopped suddenly, clutching his side. A piece of liquid metal had attached itself to his suit and was spreading rapidly. I'm compromised, he said grimly. The ship is trying to assimilate me. Linda moved to help him, but he stepped back. No, it'll spread to you too. He looked at the pod, then back at his friends. Get to Earth. Tell them what happened. I'll make sure no one follows you. Before they could argue, Gregory pushed them into the pod and sealed the door. Through the viewport, they watched as he used his weapon to destroy the hangar controls, then turned to face a wave of partially reformed harvester drones. The pod ejected automatically, shooting away from the disintegrating command ship. Linda and Jack watched in horror as the massive vessel began to fold in upon itself, collapsing into a singularity that quickly vanished. Throughout Earth's orbit, the same scene repeated. Without the command ship to coordinate them, a harvester fleet was falling into chaos. Some ships self-destructed, others drifted powerless. Earth's remaining military vessels cautiously approached the disabled aliens, weapons ready. Their small pod was detected by a human destroyer, which brought them aboard. The ship's captain greeted them with amazement. We thought you were dead, he said. What happened up there? The virus worked, Jack explained, but differently than we expected. It didn't just disrupt their systems, it separated the ships from their controlling intelligence. 6 months later, Earth had changed profoundly. Study of the disabled harvester vessels revolutionized human technology. Dr. Carter led a team that adapted the biomechanical principles to create new ships, vessels that responded to human thought and could evolve to meet new challenges. Linda stood beside Admiral Foster in the observation deck of Earth's new defense platform, watching as the first fleet of hybrid vessels prepared for launch. Gregory would be proud, Foster said quietly. Linda nodded. He saved us all. Not just us, Foster replied. Reports from deep space indicate the harvesters were retreating from other systems too. The virus spread through their entire network. The new vessels were beautiful, sleek shapes that combined human design with harvester technology. Each was piloted by a volunteer whose consciousness had been partially integrated with the ship's systems using Dr. Carter's breakthroughs. The first to undergo the procedure had been Admiral Foster herself, who now divided her consciousness between her human body and her command vessel. Are we becoming like them? Linda had asked when she first learned of the procedure. No, Foster had answered. We're keeping our humanity. That's the difference. We're evolving by choice, not by consuming others. Now, as the hybrid fleet prepared to depart on its first mission, to contact other species affected by the harvesters and establish new alliances, Linda thought about how far humanity had come. The distress signal they had found had led to humanity's greatest crisis, but in responding to that crisis, humans had unlocked potential no one had imagined possible. They had transformed themselves into something new. A species capable of melding with technology while retaining the emotion, creativity, and sacrifice that made them human. Across the galaxy, word spread of the species that had defeated the ancient predators. Some called them heroes. Others watched with growing unease as human-piloted hybrid ships began to appear in distant systems, offering protection and alliance. But all agreed on one thing. The galaxy would never be the same again. What had emerged from Earth terrified even the oldest civilizations, not because humanity was cruel or predatory like the Harvesters, but because for the first time in galactic history, evolution had produced a species whose adaptability had no apparent limits.